morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Osa Radio. So today, we've got a new Zacian card that we need to be having a little bit of a look at. Now, this has actually been revealed in English. I know you don't get that all that often, and it's coming in a theme deck. It has been confirmed that this is one of the theme deck Pokemon from the upcoming Rebel Clash expansion, along with Zamazenta, and of course, there will be a Zamazenta video coming rather shortly indeed. But we need to start off having a little bit of a look at Zacian, and it will be interesting to see which one of these is better, given that up to now, the answer has always been Zacian. So starting off, 120 HP on a basic it's alright. It's not phenomenal. We're not up there with stuff like Hooper and Buzzwole, but 120 is still pretty high. You got a retreat cost of 2, which is not ideal, but Air Balloon will give you free retreat, so it could be worse. And we do have a weakness to fire. And weakness to fire sucks. Welder decks are everywhere. Fire decks are good right now. But then again, we do have Metal Frying Pan. Metal Frying Pan reduces damage done to you by 30 while removing your weakness when attached to a metal Pokemon. Sounds good, it is, but we do need to remember that Tool Scrapper is being reprinted in what will become Rebellion Crash over in Japan. And the issue with that is that they can now get rid of your Metal Frying Pan, which is a lot less good. Boo. You do have a resistance to grass though, so those Rillaboom decks, which are getting pretty annoying, will hopefully be a little bit less annoying. Now, it is also worth pointing out that as a metal Pokemon, you are using Lucario and Melmetal potentially to reduce damage done to you by 30, and this is all looking quite nice. You are hitting weakness. You're hitting weakness against fairy Pokemon like Gardevoir and Sylveon, though that has seen a dramatic decrease in play, as well as ice Pokemon like, Ice-Q is going to be coming out soon, but honestly, there's nothing too relevant in the meta at the moment. Oh yeah, and as a metal Pokemon, you get Metal Saucer to accelerate energy. That's awesome. But what does it do? Well, the first attack here, 1 metal, 1 colorless energy stream. 30 damage, attach a metal energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. I'm not loving it, if I'm honest with you. I want this to be Regirock's attack. Not Regirock, Registeel. I want this to be the old Registeel. I want this to be 30 damage for 1 energy and attach an energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. That would be awesome. I loved Registeel. Side note, Registeel also had 10 more HP. I liked Registeel more. You see, I've always had a bit of an issue with attacks that accelerate energy to yourself, and the reasoning is very simple. I hit for 30 damage, I accelerate energy to myself, I am then sat in the active, giving my opponent a free hit on the Pokemon to whom I've just attached energy. Which means that if my opponent goes and gets a KO, then I've done nothing. I've accelerated a bit of energy to myself and then been immediately KO'd. Which means I didn't really accelerate energy to myself. And it all gets a little bit, I suppose disappointing is probably the word. It's just awkward. And 30 damage itself isn't really good enough. Back in the days where everyone was playing Gardevoir GX, and there were 60 HP routes that were weak to metal running around, it was awesome. Of course, back then we actually did have Registeel, and one of my favourite Registeel stories is that Tord Reklev, he who can't stop winning international championships, he actually ended up 3-1 in a large tournament at one point, with his only loss being to Quad Registeel. That Quad Registeel didn't make cut, that's not the point. So, 2 energy here is a bit expensive, and we've got Metal Saucer. It's just a bit expensive. Free energy, 120 damage, flip a coin, if tails, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. This I'm kind of more in favour of. Because now we've got a nice non-GX metal Pokemon. You got a metal Pokemon doing a decent amount of damage. And this is quite nice. This is alright. Because what we've got here is an attack that will get rid of the majority of non-GX, non-V Pokemon. Not all of them, I've given you a couple of examples like Hooper that will be able to survive, but most non-GXs, until you get to stage 2s of course, will have 120 or less. So that's rather nice. And let's not forget that Zacian V is often played with Arceus and Dialga and Palkia. So there's nothing to stop you here using their GX attack, which you'll probably want to use anyway, to be honest, to let you do an extra 30 damage and take an extra prize. And now you're sitting there doing 150 on a single prize Pokemon and taking 2 prizes when you KO littler Pokemon. And now I think we're actually looking really, really nice. This, I think, is when it gets really good. I think it's a tech in something like Zacian ADP. In those kind of decks, I really, really like it. But I think that's probably what we've got to be looking at here. Because the issue is, if all you do is just try and play this with something like Metal Saucer, you're putting a lot of resources in very quickly and you might not get enough back. We've always got Solgaleo Prism Star. Once during the game, you can just attach a bunch of energy, one from the discard to any of your Pokemon for each Pokemon your opponent's got in play. And that's for 1 energy, but that's a mid-game refresh kind of attack. And I don't know how great that's going to be. But if you're using it as an occasional tech, I mean, if you've got Zacian ADP, right, and you're sitting there attacking with Zacian, attacking with ADP, and your opponent is whacking up stuff like Jirachi, you don't really want to be putting your 2 and 3 prize Pokemon in harm's way. What would be far better is using a single prize Pokemon, leaving it there, just chipping away, knowing that you've always got the option of bringing in your bigger Pokemon later. Because if we have a look at your average ADP list, the kind of ones that were played at Melbourne this past weekend, in terms of non-GX attackers, I mean, you're basically playing Absol. And Absol isn't really in there as an attacker. Absol's really in there to increase the retreat cost of your opponent's Pokemon, stopping and retreating like Jirachi. You're playing Aurora Energy, so you can attack here, but it's not really what you're going for. So popping in something like this as a non-GX attacker seems like a pretty good idea. And the good news is you are only losing 2 energy on a coin flip. There's every possibility here you might even choose to play Will, and then you will not lose your energy because you can play Will and go, I'm going to make it a heads, and then you flip heads and then you don't end up losing the energy, and that's kind of lovely and brilliant. So there is an option there, or losing 2 energy isn't the end of the world. Now, earlier I said about just using Metal Saucer with this as your main attacker. I said it wasn't good enough. I stand by that assessment. However, I also think that if you're using this as a non-GX attacker, as a little bit of a tech, there's nothing against, oh, I flipped tails, Metal Saucer, energy, then you get to go again. And yes, I know you've got to get onto the bench to use Metal Saucer, so maybe you whack a Jirachi in the active, use the ability, and then retreat with a skateboard, putting this up and rolling. And I think that's the niche here. I don't hate the first attack if you're desperate. If you've really got nothing rolling, if you're having one of those games where you cannot draw anything, doing 30 damage, accelerating a bit of energy, and then hitting for 120 is fine. It's not good, and there's a decent chance you'll still lose the game, but if you've got nothing else, it's fine in an emergency. But the second attack here in a deck like ADP, I'm all in favour of. The biggest issue here, of course, would you rather play Duraludon? Because in the free pack blisters, we are getting a Duraludon that for 4 energy does 150 and 40 to itself. But that 1 extra energy can actually be a bit of a pain. You are doing extra damage, admittedly, and then you're doing 180 taking an extra prize, and that can even KO a GX like Blacephalon or Dedenne. As a side note here, if you are playing this with ADP, so you're doing 150, do consider Vitality Band, and then realise that you still won't get a KO on Dedenne because they've got a resistance. So it is actually a really good idea to play Duraludon for the extra damage if you can get rid of the extra energy. The point here is it's a good option, it's a nice tech, but there is a decent chance that Duraludon is just going to end up being a better option. Either way, I'm giving it 3 Wassies because I do like it, I can see it seeing some play, and I do like having a free energy attacker with a 2 energy starting off attack. Duraludon is always 1 energy more expensive, and that can be the difference between attacking and not. Guess we need a little bit of testing, don't we? For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about all this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but we love them nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.